Community Support and Partnership Unit update, please. Claire. And then we go into PE.
I think they need to come to the table first and open it.
Just have a bit of a yarn.
Yeah.
No.
Just cheap.
Okay. Thank you very much, and good to see you again, Christina, Claire. The floor is yours.
Kia ora koutou. We're pleased to share the work and achievements of our unit over the past 6 months. Our team has been dedicated to fostering increased community engagement, community development and preparedness for the communities of Christchurch, both geographical and communities of interest and identity. I'm going to provide you with some key highlights from our recent activities, and I've asked Christina Bullock to update you briefly on the Weaving the East project. Sina Mulitalo, our Pacific advisor, will also briefly update you, and Gary Watson, our partnerships manager. Throughout the report, you'll find residents and community members have expressed their appreciation for various projects and initiatives, and they include initiatives such as the Nepal Reserve upgrade, the Northwood Arches project, the Oasis Baptist Church building funding, and they value the efforts in community engagement, with examples such as the Brindua Banter newsletter, Riccarton League and Sports Hub improvements, and the Pacific Dragons Den. Additionally, our internship program have shared how their expectations and experiences have boosted their career aspirations and provided meaningful job opportunities. Overall, the feedback reflects a strong sense of community support and gratitude for the Council's efforts. We've successfully conducted 21 community network meetings to foster connections and collaboration, 11 advisory groups providing valuable insights and guidance, 45 community events bringing people together to build a sense of community, 61 community development projects or initiatives driving positive change, and 34 partnerships with community groups and organisations strengthening ties and working together for a common good. We are really proud of the hard work and dedication shown by our unit staff. Their efforts have significantly contributed to the wellbeing and preparedness of our community, particularly in the realm of civil defence, emergency management. We've delivered 103 public education events across the city on topics such as emergency management, personal preparedness, tsunamis, earthquakes, floods, and community response planning. We've engaged 64 community groups in community response planning, including schools, community hubs, marae, residents associations and churches. We've reached out to diverse communities, including schools, rural, public, migrant, disability and faith communities to encourage preparedness plans. And we've scheduled 3 EOC scenario training exercises for 2025, focusing on adverse weather events in May, space weather in August, and tsunamis in November. And so over the past 6 months, our work is reflected in 88 decision reports, 90 information reports, 36 memos, and 201 admin reports, and 1 publicly excluded report to Council handling sensitive matters. So I'm going to hand over now to Christina Bullock, who'll give you a quick update on some of the work around Weaving the East. And if I could just ask for questions at the end of the presentations would be really, really useful.
No problem.
So thank you. Chris, over to you.
Thank you. So largely you've got a little bit of a report in your agenda, but really to, I guess, touch on a couple of the key parts. So the real key thing with Weaving the East at its basic level, it came out of the independent review into the wastewater treatment plant fire. It's really looking at rebuilding trust and engagement with the communities in the east of Christchurch. I guess at some of the basic levels, what we've been hearing and what we've been trying to do is improve access to information in the East. So we've been doing a lot more letterbox drops, getting the information right in front of people, because we hear there's a bit of a challenge in the digital area. Specifically in relation to the treatment plant, we've started having regular monthly updates to the community board. Those are recorded, giving community real-time updates in terms of the operations of the plant. Then the next steps that we're kind of taking are looking to conduct interviews with community to really hear what some of the barriers are in terms of engaging with council, improving the relationship with council. So we've engaged Soan to do that work for us. So that's just about to get underway. It's just taken a bit of time to get the contracts in place to do that. Another key part of Weaving the East is around disaster and tsunami preparedness. So that sort of space has kind of stepped up a lot more in terms of the community resilience coordinators getting out into community even more than they were, and council had a briefing on that recently just to update you on some of the numbers and the stats around those engagements that have been happening. One of the really positive things I think with Weaving the East is the message is starting to spread more throughout the organisation. So we're getting a lot more units approaching my team to sort of earlier on to talk about how they can engage with the community better. So that's one of the biggest things that we really wanted to achieve out of this. And I guess in your report you'll see one of the recent but really good examples is pulling together the work that's happening in the tsunami space at the moment, but also understanding that we're about to or council will be about to decide the next steps of the coastal hazards adaptation program. We also have a plan change that's being worked through as well, and using the Weaving the East and the idea of engaging with community better on all of these kind of similar sounding projects. The group of staff are coming together more to talk about and putting community first in their work. So I guess that's probably a good place for me to stop. It's going well so far.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris. I'll pass over to you, Sina.
Thanks, Claire. Talofa lava, Mayor Major and councillors. Over the past 18 months, our focus has been on building meaningful relationships with Pacifica communities, ensuring that they are valued partners in shaping a resilient and inclusive Aotearoa. One of the most impactful initiatives in the Pacifica Community Garden at Linwood Resource Centre. Since launching in November, more than 460 people have taken part in weekly sessions where elders, Tamaiti from Linwood Avenue Primary and Pacifica teens from Te Aratai College come together to grow, learn and connect across generations. Supported by our mātua groups from Tangata Tumotu Trust, E Tu Pacifica and Vakatau Tua, the garden has become a thriving space of cultural pride and well-being. The Pacifica Community Garden has also been selected for an Edible and Sustainable Garden Award for 2025. The same month, we hosted our first Yavu and Kapasa workshop about effective engagement with Pacific peoples in partnership with the Ministry of Pacific Peoples, with 136 registrations and 129 attendees, of 65% from council, alongside 27 external organisations at Te Mira Multicultural Recreation Community Centre. Since then, 7 local Pacifica facilitators have been trained in Yavu foundations, helping embed this kaupapa into our future and leadership development. Together with Civil Defence Resilient staff, we've also delivered the Pacifica Community Emergency Foundation course with 25 registered and 16 Pacifica community leaders attended, along with Pacific staff from police and FEMS, representing Tonga, Niue, Samoa, Fiji, Rotuma and Solomon Islands local community. The course helped build readiness and trust. And finally, our second Pacifica Mātua Olympics, supported by our RSEA Active Communities Program team and Pioneer Stadium event staff in September, we saw a 200% increase in participation, with 90 elders, 50 young volunteers and over 200 supporters filling Pioneer Stadium in a joyful celebration of community and connection. These initiatives reflect the spirit of our Strengthening Communities kaupapa, grounded in partnership, resilience and people at the heart. Whaftai tele lava.
Gary.
So I'm a late addition to the crew. I went and got a bit of paper because everyone else had one. I do have some stuff on it. Hey, so I've got a bit of a zinger of an update really. The last couple of weeks we've had multiple external agencies coming around funding drops that have come from central government. And the Mayor's had an invite to meet with one of our larger groups who's been around for about 20 years delivering youth education services. So they've lost a large contract. We met again with the Hub last week, which you're all aware of. Another contract's gone. So this is more of a heads up that we are coming into a funding round. We are seeing, hopefully not weekly, hopefully it was a bad week last week, but we are starting to see some of those impacts of policy change at a central government level, and the request or the inquiry with us at local council around funding and how we could support some of these to carry on. We've been through this cycle before. We went through it after the earthquake, where a lot of money came in for that first 3 years, and then programs, the funding dropped off. So I guess it's just an early heads up that we'll be having that discussion when we come to strengthening communities, and you may get approached by groups. I'd be really keen to hear if groups are approaching you, so we can go and have a conversation and just get a clear lay of the land of where we are. But it is worrying. Yeah. So mine's a bit of a ad hoc, just a quick update while I had the chance.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to share with you the work of our unit over the past 6 months. I'm happy to open the floor for any questions.
Yep, Sarah, then Yanni.
Kia ora koutou, thank you so much. You guys do a really wide range of work with our communities, and it's often not seen by us because it's out there, which is fantastic. She's got something that's just on. It's not sort of on. It's on the objective 3 in preparedness, and talks about that community safety space, and kind of more specifically the central city. It's not mentioned here, but the bus exchange. So there's the igloo, but the security officers, issues around what's happening at the bus exchange. But then the night time, I've had concerns raised from people who, while the centre of the city seems relatively safe, as soon as you go beyond like a block back at night time, it's really people feel unsafe walking to get home, to cars, those kind of things. And I'm just wondering if there's any work we're doing in that space. I know Wellington's got its new city centre safety plan, that kind of thing.
So there's probably, I'm very careful not to have excuses because I don't want them. We fund in a very different way to Wellington does, so that's one thing. I think environmentally, we're doing some work and working with other teams around, I think some of that's environmental, some of it's light, some of it's alleyways, some of it's everything else. Having a look at that. We've formed a really good relationship with those police, local community patrols in town. But I'll be interested to hear where and what those are, so we can actually start to target some stuff. But it is safety is always one of those things where some people feel really safe, some people don't. But environment and SIPTED has sort of become one of those things that we're really trying to work on, especially with what's going on with the new stadium and the new everything else.
That's it. It's just maybe we can get some visibility over that at some point. That would be just really useful. Yeah, thanks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Yanni?
Yeah, cool. Thank you for the report. And again, just to acknowledge the really good work that you're doing. I'm particularly impressed with the work around the Pacific communities, and I've had a chance to visit the garden, which is great. So well done. I was really interested in understanding what's happening with the Christchurch Youth Council. We had them come to that annual plan. Are you able to give us an update about how they're going and what's happening with the MOU that we've got with them? Thanks.
Sure. So Councillor Harrison-Hunter's in here, but as the profile lead, we've spent a bit of time. I think it's fair to say that the MOU has been, I wouldn't say in conflict, but we haven't been exactly in line with it. Part of it is, again, not finding an excuse. We wrote an MOU before the last election under structures that we had. Under the structure of this council, we no longer had a youth committee, and that has been questioned by the youth council. the youth advisor at the moment is away, but when she comes back on leave after speaking to Councillor Harrison Hunt, we're going to bring the youth council in and have invite anyone who wants to come to have that discussion, because I think the MOU is as much about you as it is about us and what they expect from you as councillors and what they expect from us as staff and what we expect from them. So we've got a lot of work to do on it. I don't think the one we have at the moment, we need to change it a lot.
So just a final follow-up
Sure.
in that regard. So we used to have a youth strategy. We used to have a youth action plan. We no longer have those. We got rid of them to put this strategy in place.
Sure.
How are we measuring the outcomes and the well-being of young people in the absence of those strategies?
Yep. So the Youth Council have picked up, they asked for some of the responsibility on that. So they do an annual survey every year. And so the latest one is out now, I think. But they report back on that, and that's what we will report back on to you. It's been one of those things where young people can survey young people a lot easier than someone of my age can survey young people. Not that I consider myself old, but yeah, we are feeling our way through this. We have very good relationships with a lot of youth organisations. The youth council is one we're working on. The Youth Workers Collective we had a good relationship with. Lots of youth organisations. I think Danielle's doing a fantastic job as a youth advisor, but we do have some work to do.
Thanks, guys. Tyrone, please.
Quickly, I'll just find the spot. So yeah, no, really appreciate the work that's been done. I know there's some really good work that's been done in Cairns Bay in particular, and other areas. But just on the, I just noticed this. So I'm just looking at page 284 on the agenda. It's just under the Te Whenua Place area, and just says strengthening the Akaroa Heritage Society French Festival Support Committee to support the event's success and long-term financial sustainability. Can you just talk me through that a little bit? Because I was under the understanding that it wasn't proceeding this year.
I'm unable to. I'm not sure, Matt, are you able to on behalf of Banks Peninsula? I'm sorry, I can't respond to you, but we can get that to you. Yep. Absolutely.
Yep. Thank you.
Mel?
The information about the Waitai Community Board and improving public understanding, participation and council decision making, etc. Are we measuring? Is there measuring like the benefit that all that work is doing?
So we're about to go out and do surveys with community, both with relationships that we hold, but also sort of with new contexts. So that's why we've engaged an independent person to do that for us, so that they can hear perhaps more honest opinions of community than, say, us that they already know. And then what we've built into that as well is to be able to go back to them after a set period to see if any of those opinions have changed. So ideally we would have liked to have done some of those surveys sooner. It's just taken time to get to the contract, because then it would reflect some of the work we've been doing in the meantime anyway. But from some of our discussions sort of informally with community, we know that they're really appreciating the different ways of connecting and getting that information to them. So we'll be able to report back through the community board, but we'll share with council as well, sort of the initial feedback from those interviews, and then the future one as well.
Because what would be good, I would hope that somehow that the successes that happen there could be moved
Rolled
on
out.
to other community boards, not just, oh, that was great, guys, and then forget all about it, but actually something real come from that.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we've talked about as staff as well, because obviously this is born out of the response to the wastewater treatment plant, but it could potentially be a good pilot for some of the learnings out there, definitely to roll out to the other boards and teams.
Yep, brilliant, thank you. And Celeste, please.
Thank you for all your good work. It's great to get an update. I just had one, I don't know if it's the right forum for it, but it was around the tsunami. It was one under the Weaving the East of one of the pillars around sort of community-led planning with tsunami response. And I was wondering whether we've looked at, because it's quite a big bit of work, how this is integrated into the other work that's underway, making sure that it's not separated out, because I was looking at the government inquiry into Cyclone Gabrielle and some of the learnings from that, and it was talking about that where the strength was community-led stuff, but it's often not integrated well into the planning. So just how do we look at some of the lessons and making sure that it's captured as part of that bit of work, and it's not siloed too much from...
I can speak a little bit. So obviously I'm not in the civil defence team, but one of the things that I know a key priority probably of council as well as the board through Weaving the East and everything is sort of stepping up the readiness for tsunami response. But what we've also acknowledged is that there's already been a lot of response planning done with those communities, and it's not to, it needs to be done in tandem. And also we're aware that community only have a certain level of capacity for doing this work. So where possible, we're trying to join up all of the conversations around that preparedness. Any more than that probably needs to come from Brendan's team than me. But it's definitely something that we're trying to support in terms of our, my local team having a lot of those relationships, and then the community resilience coordinators pointing them at the right people to talk to.
But that probably will be picked up through the briefing that comes to the community board, would be that when council comes to make a decision around the infrastructure part of that we're taking on board. We've done the work in those communities to understand where they think the gaps are, and that's quite thorough. It's not just a tick box, because I think that's actually something that is recognised as being key, but also is recognised as being a gap across the country. So making sure that that's done in quite a thorough way. So maybe one briefing won't be enough to feed into the decision, would be the feedback.
I guess that's something, you can pick up definitely at the briefings. And then on that, obviously there's, I think, a set of free briefings set up in each of the local community boards that are the coastal, in varying coastal impacts. So you'll be able to pick up some of those questions there as well.
Okay, thank you.
Really quickly.
Yes.
Is it your area that would be one of the agencies involved in working with the Edgware community to, and also it was the Richmond community around Stanmore Road, to address the antisocial behaviour, that our community board passed a resolution that multi-agencies would work there before we issue the alcohol ban? Is that your area?
Yep.
So would we expect to see an update in here at some point?
I actually thought you had an update, but yes, you can expect to get an update there.
In here would be quite nice, so
Apologies.
that it maintains visibility.
Good question.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
You're
for giving
more
me
than
that
welcome.
time.
You're more than welcome. So there's questions. Is there any debate on this or any discussion? Anyone? Yes, Kelly.
Yeah, I just think this is absolutely fantastic work. I think when I think of an organisation like Actis operating in part of my ward, and the way they connect with the community and the information that gives them and helps inform where they're going to put their efforts, I think this is absolutely fantastic, the work that you're doing across the city. The Weaving the East is a really, really positive sort of project, and I think elected members also do this sort of work, getting out and trying to understand their communities. So I think it's a really, really positive thing, and I hope we can support you as much as possible into the future.
Fantastic.
So well done.
Yep, good to go. No more discussion. I'm more than happy to put this to the vote. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Absolutely perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, now we're up to the last one of the day.